Many people think that pain is something to be feared. They see it as a curse, a punishment, or something to escape. But in Shaolin teaching, we look at pain differently. Pain is not our enemy. Pain is our teacher. When you train the body, the muscles burn, the legs tremble, the breath becomes heavy. At that moment the body speaks to you. It says, here is your limit. But if you listen closely, you also hear. And here is the place where you can grow. Pain is truth. It cannot be faked. It cannot be hidden. If you try to ignore it, it will return. Stronger, but if you embrace it with awareness, it shows you the path forward. The pain you experience today becomes the wisdom you carry tomorrow. Suffering comes not from the pain itself, but from our resistance to it. When we complain, when we fear, when we ask why me, we give the pain more strength. But if we breathe, stay present, and accept it, then suddenly the pain begins to transform. Discomfort is discipline. Every strike, every posture, every breath in Shaolin training is an invitation. Will you stop here, or will you step beyond? In choosing to continue, you reshape yourself. The old weakness breaks, and a new strength is born. So remember this teaching. Pain is not your enemy. It is a messenger. It is a guide. The task is not to run from it, but to learn from it. Through pain we are transformed. Through pain we grow closer to the true strength of body, mind, and spirit. Shaolin wisdom says, do not fear the pain. Thank it, because without it you would never know how strong you truly are. When we hear the word pain, most of us immediately think of something negative. We think of injury, of suffering, of something that must be avoided at all costs. But in Shaolin teaching, pain is not looked at through such a narrow lens. Pain is a form of truth-telling. It is the most direct language the body and the mind possess. When you put yourself in training, when you hold a posture for longer than your comfort allows, or when you breathe deeper than you thought you could, there is a threshold where pain begins to appear. It arrives not as an enemy, but as a message. This message is simple. Here you are weak. Here is where the mind wants to give up. Here is where your true self is revealed. Pain strips away the illusions you carry. It takes away the mask of confidence, the mask of comfort, the mask of certainty. It shows you exactly what you are capable of in that moment, without pretension, without disguise. Consider this: when life is easy, when everything flows without resistance, we rarely ask deep questions about ourselves. We rarely examine the limits of our patience, our courage, or our faith. Comfort makes us soft, and softness makes us forgetful of who we truly are. Pain, however, does not allow this forgetfulness. When your muscles ache, when your body trembles, when your heart is tested by hardship, the truth of your condition is revealed. Pain shows you whether your strength is real or only imagined. It uncovers whether your determination is strong or only spoken in words. This is why in Shaolin we embrace pain during training, not because we enjoy suffering, but because we know suffering uncovers the truth. The pain is a mirror. It reflects back to you the areas of your life that require attention, the weaknesses that demand to be faced, and the fears that need to be overcome. Without this mirror, you remain blind to your own potential, and yet most people reject pain when it comes. They numb it, they run from it, they complain against it, but by doing so, they also run away from the truth it carries. When pain arrives, it is like a teacher entering the room. Some students may cover their ears, close their eyes, and refuse to listen, but the teaching remains. In the same way, pain does not vanish simply because we deny it. It waits, patiently, for the moment when we are ready to learn. The sore muscles you avoid stretching, the emotional wounds you refuse to face, the uncomfortable truths you do not want to accept. These are all forms of pain that keep returning until you are willing to listen. To see pain as an enemy is to deny yourself the chance to grow. To see pain as a teacher is to accept that growth only comes through honesty. The truth may be uncomfortable, but it is always liberating. Pain forces you to live in reality, not in illusion. This is why Shaolin training is designed not just to strengthen the body, but to reveal the truth hidden inside you. When the legs shake in a horse stance, when the arms grow heavy in a posture, when the breath burns in the chest during intense practice, you meet yourself at the edge of your comfort. This is the moment where the real teaching begins. Pain asks you, will you stop here, or will you continue? Will you listen to the weakness, or will you discover the strength that lies beyond? Each time you choose to stay with the pain, not in resistance, but in awareness, you uncover another layer of your own truth. You begin to realize that you are stronger than you believed, more resilient than you imagined, and more capable than you ever allowed yourself to see. Pain reveals truth, and in that truth, you discover the map of your transformation. When pain arises, it often feels eternal. In the moment of struggle, whether it is the burn of your muscles during training, the weight of disappointment in your heart, or the mental pressure of failure, the experience of pain convinces you that it will last forever. But this is an illusion created by the mind. Pain, no matter how sharp, no matter how heavy, is always temporary. It comes, it stays for a while, and then it passes. What remains after it passes, however, is something much greater: the wisdom you gained through enduring it. This is the essence of the Shaolin teaching. Do not mistake the temporary sensation for the permanent result. Pain fades, but the strength, the understanding, the resilience, these are permanent. They remain with you, silently shaping your character long after the pain itself has disappeared. Imagine the first time you stepped into training. The body resisted every movement. The breath was short, the muscles tight, the joints stiff. You may have thought, this is unbearable, but you continued. You endured the trembling of your legs in horse stance, the ache in your arms as you held them stretched, the sweat running into your eyes. In that moment, the pain felt unending, and yet, days later, the soreness disappeared. Weeks later, the body became stronger. Months later, the movements flowed more naturally. The pain was gone, but the wisdom of discipline, patience, and perseverance remained. This is how life works. Every painful moment you face is fleeting, but the lesson it carves into your being is permanent. The body forgets the sting of the effort, but the spirit remembers the strength it gave you. The same is true beyond the training ground. In life, every heartbreak, every failure, every disappointment feels permanent when it arrives. You believe you will never recover from the loss of someone you love, from the collapse of your dreams, from the betrayal of trust. The pain feels endless because the mind cannot see beyond the present moment. But look back at your life. How many times did you once believe the pain would never end? And yet it did. The memory of the event may remain, but the sharpness of the suffering softened. What stayed with you was the wisdom you gained, the awareness of what matters, the knowledge of your resilience, the insight that shaped the choices you make today. Pain is like a passing storm. While it rages, it feels like the world is ending, but after it clears, the air is fresher, the sky brighter, and you stand taller because you survived. Therefore the Shaolin path reminds us, do not fear the pain, for it will not last. Fear instead the possibility of missing the wisdom hidden within it. Too many people waste their suffering. They focus only on the discomfort, counting the minutes until it ends. But they do not take the time to reflect on what the pain was teaching. Pain without reflection is wasted, but pain embraced with awareness becomes a permanent teacher. Every moment of endurance is a seed of wisdom planted within you. When the pain passes, the seed grows into strength, discipline, and clarity. In this way, pain becomes not just something to survive, but something that enriches your life. The pain is temporary, the wisdom is permanent. This is why in Shaolin we accept pain as part of the journey, not because we seek suffering, but because we know what it leaves behind is eternal. Pain in itself is not the true enemy. What often makes pain unbearable is not the sensation itself, but the mind's resistance to it. Imagine holding a posture in training. Your legs begin to shake, your shoulders ache, your breath becomes shallow. At first the discomfort is simple. It is just the body communicating. But then the mind begins to resist. I cannot do this. This is too much. Why am I here? When will it end? The resistance builds, and with it the suffering multiplies. What could have been just a passing sensation of strain transforms into deep torment, not because of the body, but because of the mind. This is the essence of Shaolin wisdom. Pain is a natural part of growth, but resistance to pain is what creates unnecessary suffering. The body may be tired, but it is the mind that cries out the loudest. Think about water flowing over a stone. The water does not resist the hardness of the stone. It moves around it, over it, and eventually shapes it with patience. The stone resists, and yet with time, it is worn down. In the same way, when you resist what is, you create friction, tension, and struggle within yourself. Life presents moments of pain. This cannot be avoided. But when you resist them, you add layers of fear, frustration, and anger on top of what is already there. Suddenly, the pain is no longer just physical or emotional. It becomes a heavy burden that crushes the spirit. If instead you accept the reality of pain, if you flow with it like water, then the suffering lessens. The pain remains, but it does not consume you. The resistance is what makes the mountain heavy to climb. Acceptance, however, gives your steps lightness. This teaching is not only for physical training, but also for the struggles of everyday life. Imagine someone facing the pain of failure. If they resist it, they deny it. They tell themselves it should not have happened, or they blame others endlessly. The suffering grows larger than the failure itself. Their energy is trapped in fighting reality. But if they accept it, yes, I failed, yes, it is painful, but this is the truth, then the suffering diminishes, and space opens for wisdom to enter. The failure remains, but it no longer defines them. Resistance ties us to the wound. Acceptance frees us to move beyond it. This is why the Shaolin path teaches us to train the mind as much as the body. For when the mind resists, suffering multiplies. But when the mind accepts, even great pain becomes a doorway to strength. In meditation, this truth becomes even clearer. Sit quietly and observe your own discomfort. The knees ache, the back stiffens, the thoughts grow restless. If you resist these experiences, you suffer twice, once from the discomfort and once from your rejection of it. But if you simply notice them, breathe into them, and accept them, the suffering dissolves, and only awareness remains. The body still feels the ache, but the mind is at peace. This is the secret hidden in every moment of life. The more we resist, the more we suffer. The more we accept, the freer we become. This is why resistance is the root of suffering. Not because pain is too strong, but because our refusal to accept it makes it heavier than it truly is. In Shaolin teaching, we learn to loosen the grip of resistance, so that suffering no longer chains us to despair, but instead becomes a teacher guiding us toward liberation. Discomfort is something most people spend their lives avoiding. We seek comfort in soft chairs, in familiar routines, in easy choices. Yet in Shaolin teaching, it is precisely discomfort that becomes the ground where discipline is born. When you train and the body begins to protest, when the legs quiver under the weight of a low stance, when the arms grow heavy as you hold them outstretched, this is the doorway into discipline. Discipline does not begin when things are easy. It begins exactly where you would normally stop. The choice to remain in discomfort, to breathe into it, and to continue forward despite it, is the essence of discipline. Without discomfort, discipline cannot grow. Comfort breeds stagnation, while discomfort awakens the hidden reserves of strength within you. Each time you endure the unease, you are training not only your body, but your character. Think of the blacksmith forging steel. The raw metal is placed in fire, beaten, cooled, and placed back into fire again. This process is not comfortable for the metal. It is violent, it is harsh, it is intense. Yet without this process, the metal remains weak and unshaped. Through the discomfort of fire and hammer, the steel becomes strong, sharp, and purposeful. In the same way, your life shapes you through discomfort. Without it, you remain soft, untested, uncertain of your own strength. Discipline is the hammer and fire that refines the human spirit. Every repetition of training when you wish to stop, every breath held when your chest wants to collapse, every moment you rise early when the body desires sleep. These acts of facing discomfort shape you into something greater than you were before. Discomfort is the training ground of the mind as much as the body. Discipline through discomfort is not about punishing yourself or seeking suffering for its own sake. It is about learning to remain steady when others would collapse, to stay focused when others would be distracted, and to endure when others would surrender. Life will always present moments that are difficult, moments of loss, failure, rejection, or fear. If you have only lived in comfort, these moments will break you. But if you have trained through discomfort, if you have cultivated discipline in the small battles of daily life, then you will stand unshaken when greater challenges arrive. The push-ups that burn your muscles, the meditation that tests your patience, the fasting that challenges your hunger, these are not just physical exercises, they are rehearsals for life. Each small discomfort you embrace prepares you for the greater storms ahead. When you practice discipline through discomfort, you discover a paradox. What once felt unbearable becomes natural, and what once seemed impossible becomes ordinary. The cold water that shocked your body now awakens you. The early mornings that felt torturous now ground your day. The endless training that once drained you now fills you with energy. This transformation happens not because the discomfort disappears, but because your relationship to it changes. You learn that discomfort is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is there to remind you of your potential, to guide you into discipline, to sharpen your focus. Every time you step willingly into discomfort, you plant the seeds of mastery. And just as a tree grows strong against the wind, so too does your spirit grow strong against the challenges of life. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build, moment by moment, through your willingness to walk into discomfort and stay there with awareness. Every experience of pain carries within it the seed of transformation. In the beginning, pain feels like destruction. The muscles tear, the heart breaks, the mind shatters under pressure. But from the Shaolin perspective, destruction is only half of the story. Pain does not only break you, it reshapes you. Each time the body is challenged, it adapts. The fibers of the muscle repair themselves stronger. The lungs expand with greater capacity. The mind learns to endure with deeper patience. Pain transforms weakness into strength, ignorance into understanding, and fear into courage. Without pain, there can be no transformation, because comfort keeps everything exactly as it is. It is pain that forces change, that pushes you beyond your old boundaries, that compels you to evolve into someone new. Think of the butterfly. Before it can fly, it must endure the cocoon. The caterpillar dissolves within it, losing its old form completely. To the outside observer, it looks like suffering, like death. But this painful process is the very thing that allows transformation to occur. Without the struggle inside the cocoon, there would be no wings. In the same way, your struggles are the cocoon of your life. The pain you endure, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, is the dissolving of the old self, so that a new self may emerge. To resist this process is to remain trapped in the caterpillar's body, never discovering the wings that are waiting to unfold. Transformation is always painful, because transformation always asks you to let go of what you were, but only through that letting go do you become what you are meant to be. This principle is seen clearly in Shaolin training. In the beginning, the postures feel unnatural, the movements awkward, the body uncooperative. You sweat, you stumble, you fall. Yet, with each repetition, with each painful correction, the body begins to transform. Muscles become more fluid, breath more controlled, movements more precise. What was once painful becomes natural, and what once seemed impossible becomes effortless. The same process applies to the mind. At first, meditation feels unbearable. The mind resists, thoughts scatter, restlessness dominates. But if you remain with the discomfort, if you endure the pain of stillness, slowly the mind transforms. Clarity arises where there was confusion. Peace appears where there was chaos. Awareness expands where there was blindness. The transformation is subtle, but it is profound. Pain is the fire through which both body and mind are refined. And so, when you face pain in life, you must learn to see it not as an ending, but as a beginning. The pain of loss transforms you into someone who values presence. The pain of failure transforms you into someone who understands perseverance. The pain of discipline transforms you into someone who embodies strength. Every painful moment is an invitation to shed an old layer of yourself and to step into a new form of being. The key is not to flee from pain, nor to seek it recklessly, but to embrace it with awareness when it comes. For every time you endure pain consciously, you are being reshaped by it. You are not the same person you were before, and you will not be the same person after. Pain is not merely an experience to be survived. It is the very process by which you are transformed. When we gather all these teachings together, a picture begins to form. Pain is not something to fear, but something to understand. It is a messenger of truth, showing us where our limits are and where growth must take place. It is a temporary companion passing through our lives, leaving behind the permanent gift of wisdom. It is not the pain itself that destroys us, but our resistance to it. And when we learn to remain steady in discomfort, discipline is forged. Finally, through all of these, pain reveals its true nature. It is transformation, the silent force that turns weakness into strength, doubt into clarity, and fear into courage. This is why the Shaolin path does not reject pain, nor does it worship it. Instead, it treats pain as a teacher. When you encounter pain, you are standing at the threshold of change. You are given a choice to run from it and remain the same, or to embrace it and be transformed. The teaching is not to blindly seek suffering, but to face it when it arrives, with awareness, with patience, and with acceptance, because within that moment of pain, a door opens to a deeper version of yourself, one that you have not yet met, one that waits on the other side of endurance. Understand this clearly. Every human being experiences pain. No one is spared, not the strong, not the weak, not the rich, not the poor. Pain is universal, but suffering is not. Suffering is optional, because suffering is born of resistance. You cannot escape pain, but you can choose how to meet it. You can choose to meet it with fear and resentment, or you can meet it with courage and awareness. One path weakens you, the other transforms you. This is why the Shaolin teaching says, do not run from pain, stand with it, learn from it, allow it to refine you, so the next time pain arrives, whether in the body,
in the heart or in the mind. Pause and listen. Do not ask, why me? Instead, ask, what is this teaching me? In that shift of perspective, pain loses its power to harm and becomes a guide toward growth. Each breath you take through the discomfort, each moment you endure with awareness, is a step closer to your true strength. Pain is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of transformation.